So the article that I was assigned was the deinstitutionalization of marriage, and pretty much in this article they talk about the weakening of social norms that define a person's behavior in marriage. So all the stigma around marriage and all the things that you need to do because you're married have changed, and people are pretty much opening themselves up to these new ways of being together. Um, It started it started in the card. It says that because the role of the homemaker and breadwinner were fading, because more women were entering the workforce, more women were pretty much providing for themselves and providing for their family. So they didn't just have to rely on a man to help them out. Um, and in addition to that, there was also an increase in childbearing outside of marriage, and that also began to change the basis of marriage. In 1989, the ratio for children born out of wedlock was 1 out of 6, while today the ratio is actually 1 out of 3. So it pretty much, people didn't think that they needed to get married to have children. Other factors of marriage decline and changing norms was the emergence of cohabitation, and in the 1970s, in the emergence of same-sex marriages, well, same-sex couples. Cohabitation specifically had a big impact on stepfamilies, where in Canada, actually, where today it's 1/4 of all families in Canada are formed by cohabitation and not marriage. So pretty much people are having their children and then just coming together with other people who've had their children, and it seems to be that they don't think that they need to get married. So pretty much cohabitation is being seen as an alternative to marriage, and in the article there are 4 stages of cohabitation that are described. Stage 1 being cohabitation or avant-garde phenomenon. Stage 2 is where cohabitation is considered a testing ground for marriage, so people are testing the waters. They're pretty much trying to figure out if this other person is someone that they want to be married to. And stage 3 is where cohabitation becomes acceptable as an alternative to marriage, and that's pretty self-explanatory. And stage 4 is where cohabitation becomes indistinguishable from marriage, so pretty much they're going to be seen eventually as the same thing. When it comes to same-sex unions, sociologists have actually called them family of choice, which is one that is formed through voluntary ties among individuals who are not biologically or legally related, which can also serve actually as a definition of cohabitation, because cohabitation is pretty much people who are just choose to be together. The article actually further elaborates that same-sex unions don't have the option of falling back on gender-differentiated roles like heterosexual marriages can. So same-sex couples can't be, well, you're a woman and you have to do this, and I'm the man and I have to do this. They pretty much have to rely on which partner makes more, which partner is bringing in more money to the family, which partner is out working outside the home more, and then that partner in turn relies on the other one to pretty much hold everything down at home, to hold everything down with children and family and friends. And that the partner, the gender differentiated roles when it comes to earning money doesn't have a gender basis. It can be that can be the same for couples who are men and women, whereas now if a woman's making more, she's going to rely on her husband to do most of the housework, and vice versa. So all these changes in division of labor, like childbearing and cohabitation, have begun to change the meaning of marriage. People don't see it as the ends of all their means. For women, it just pretty much the role outside of the home became more prominent, so the roles of husband and wives became more flexible, so no one is stuck in one job in their marriage. As time went on, people began to see marriage as a choice and not a necessity, so that they can have intimacy, companionship, and children. the social norm started to change. People started to realize that it's not necessarily a bad thing to have a child out of a marriage, that it's not necessarily a bad thing to just be with someone and not be married. So less people were getting married because it was becoming acceptable to just make your family. And that was pretty much how people were going about it. A little different to the education and in building of it. In addition to education and building an individual self, an argument was presented that through marriage, women's work was exchanged with the men's labor outside the home. So pretty much that means that a woman's housework was rewarded by the money that her husband was bringing home, and the money that her husband was bringing home was rewarded by the fact that a woman was keeping the house nice and tidy and keep the family together, which would then mean that today women who are less educated are more likely to get married, which turns out to not be true, because women who are less educated and have less labor training are actually less likely to get married, which, like I said, goes back to the whole individual self. People want to be stable on their own and want their partner to be stable before these two separate parties can come together and be stable together. Since the article is mainly talking about the pros of actually not being married, a pro that was mentioned was that marriage offers partner security. So a person is less likely to back out of a marriage because you have all these ties, you have all these legal standings, and you guys are, these two are one. All your finances are together, all your stuff is together. So it's a lot harder to back out of it, because in time someone could lose half of everything they've earned together with this other person. So, which actually also turns out to be a positive for cohabitation. People don't want to feel obligated. They don't want to feel like they have to be with someone because the law says that they have to, or because a certificate says that they have to. Some people are happier with just having a verbal commitment with someone and saying that they're going to be together and stay together. Despite that, with cohabitation, people still see marriage as a super relationship. It's the ends to most people's means. It's just seen as that goal that people want to have. But when it comes to the actual act of marriage, couples seem now to use it more as an indication of their success. So they do big wedding receptions to show others around them that they're stable, that they have it all together. So it's pretty much just them bragging. It's not anything other than that. But but when it comes to low income families, they feel that marriage is something that they need to do once they are stable, instead of higher class couples who use it to show it off. The lower income families partners tend to ask of their partners that they need stability, that they need faithfulness, they need priority, that they need their partner to pretty much put the family before they put themselves, that they need to be able to put their children before anything else too. So they see marriage as the end, the goal, the thing that pretty much solidifies the relationship that they have with this other person. It shows that they're okay, that they're stable, that they're happy. But despite the whole super relationship thing, people still prefer to voluntarily commit. So it doesn't really seem that although marriage is a goal, it's not the only goal. It's not the only thing that can be done with a union. The article then leaves us with 3 future scenarios involving marriage. The first being return to an institutionalized form of marriage. So pretty much back to the 1950s, where marriage is what it is. You need to get married in order to have a family. The second being our current situation, where marriage continues to remain important, but it's not the most important thing. It's there, it's an option, but it's not something that you have to do. And lastly, that marriage will just fade into just one of many kinds of romantic relationships. So pretty much cohabitation is going to be seen as something huge. Marriage is going to be seen as something huge. All these relationships are just kind of all going to be the same. But due to the information that was gathered in the article, in my opinion, I believe that the second and third option, specifically the second, seem the most viable for a future. People seem to be becoming more accepting of a lot of things. So having a child out of wedlock is not the biggest deal now. There's single moms everywhere. There's single parents all the time. So people seem to be okay with that. There's couples that are together for years and just manage to not get married, and no one sees anything wrong with that either. So I think that out of the three options, the second would be the most likely for a future involving marriage. So